Donald Trump won re-election with an unusual promise to make Greenland part of U.S. territory. He promised wealth, security, and a new era of Arctic greatness. But in 2025, the unthinkable happened. While Trump was talking, Canada acted, and Greenland chose a different path. Today, Greenland's strategic resources, molybdenum, gold, and rare earth elements, are in the hands of Canadian companies, backed by Europe and Denmark. No troops, no annexations, just deals. While Trump insisted on buying the island, Canada was already building it. How did the United States lose control of one of the most strategic territories of the 21st century without a single shot fired? And even more troubling, is Greenland quietly starting a new Cold War? Thus, in this video, we'll show you how Trump pushed Greenland toward Canada and why that might change the balance of power in the Arctic forever. After his re-election in November 2024, Donald Trump reactivated one of his most controversial ideas, the acquisition of Greenland. And this time, he said it bluntly. One way or the other, we're going to get Greenland. We will make you rich. It's a small population which we'll take care of and cherish, but we need it for international security. For Trump, Greenland wasn't a whim. It was a key piece on the strategic board of the 21st century. His team knew it. Controlling the island meant securing the naval passage known as the GIUK Gap, essential for tracking Russian submarines in the North Atlantic. Greenland is a piece of the U.S. homeland, said Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. But it wasn't just about defense. Beneath Greenland's ice lies a fortune in rare earths, molybdenum and oil, vital resources to manufacture everything from missiles to wind turbines. And as the ice melts more each year, that treasure is getting closer than ever. We need Greenland very badly. It's strategically vital. Trump did not rule out military options. In his vision, Greenland had to be part of the United States, not just out of need, but by right. And that set off alarms around the world. The reaction was swift. Within hours of Trump's speech before Congress, Denmark issued a blunt rejection. Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders, Danish officials declared. And this time, they weren't alone. Greenland's elected leaders delivered a joint statement condemning any and all forms of foreign takeover. Our future is not for sale, they insisted. French President Emmanuel Macron called Trump's comments unacceptable among allies. NATO responded not with words, but with action. Arctic surveillance flights increased. Naval patrols intensified through the North Atlantic. Behind closed doors, European intelligence officials warned that Trump's rhetoric was destabilizing the Arctic balance. The message from Europe was clear. This wasn't 1946. You don't just claim territory anymore. Far from isolating Denmark, Trump's approach rallied the continent behind it. Greenland wasn't just defending its autonomy, it was gaining international backing to protect it. While Trump dominated the headlines, Canada was already sealing the future. In June 2025, Greenland granted a 30-year mineral exploitation license to a Toronto-based company, Greenland Resources Inc. The permit allowed full extraction of molybdenum and magnesium from the Malmberg site in eastern Greenland, two minerals critical to defense systems and advanced manufacturing. But this wasn't just a vague exploration deal. Greenland Resources already had binding supply contracts with European steelmakers. This was business. Serious business. Greenland's Minister of Business and Minerals, Naya Nathanielsen, said the deal would support economic independence and bring long-term jobs to local communities. Just 1 week earlier, another Canadian company, Amaroq Minerals, raised $61 million to expand gold mining operations at Nalunaq in southern Greenland. More than 90% of the funding came from institutional investors in Europe and North America. Even Denmark's state-backed export agency, IFO, invested. Canada wasn't making speeches. It was building infrastructure. It wasn't asking for Greenland. It was partnering with it. What began as a series of business deals quickly evolved into something much larger, a coordinated pivot away from American influence and toward a new Arctic alliance, anchored by Canada, Europe, and Greenland's own leadership. In mid-2025, the European Union officially labeled Greenland a strategic priority in its updated raw materials security strategy. The Momberg molybdenum project alone, EU analysts projected, could meet up to 30% of Europe's defense-related demand by 2030. Greenland's ministers weren't just signing contracts, they were shaping a vision of self-sufficiency without dependence, of foreign partnerships without foreign control. "We are not for sale," said Minister Nathanielsen, "but we are open for business." That statement echoed across Europe and resonated deeply in Ottawa. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney praised the mining deals as a model for Arctic cooperation, based on respect, mutual benefit, and shared prosperity. While Washington sought ownership, Ottawa built trust. As Canadian companies expanded operations and Europe deepened its support, the U.S. found itself increasingly isolated, not through war, but through diplomacy lost. Inside Washington, frustration was growing. At the Pentagon, analysts agreed Greenland was strategic. But the White House's insistence on territorial control, rather than partnership, was undercutting progress. Meanwhile, European intelligence warned that Trump's push to militarize the island could destabilize the entire region. Several NATO officials expressed concerns privately. Turning Greenland into a U.S. outpost might spark a confrontation with Russia and fracture Arctic cooperation. By contrast, Canada's approach, built on private investment and public trust, wasn't triggering alarms. It was being viewed as the de-escalation strategy the Arctic needed. And while Trump kept repeating that Greenland was part of the homeland, his strategy was backfiring. Trump's pressure campaign may have backfired, but it also accelerated something unexpected: Greenland's push for autonomy. No longer a pawn between great powers, Greenland is now shaping its own destiny. Local leaders are building regulatory frameworks, negotiating revenue-sharing models, and forging foreign relations on their own terms. Instead of being absorbed by a superpower, Greenland is becoming a partner to many. Canada's slow, steady approach, backed by private capital and diplomatic respect, has helped build real capabilities. Economic development, job creation, and infrastructure growth are now tied to Greenlandic control, not foreign ownership. For the first time in decades, Greenland isn't just being acted upon, it's acting, and the world is starting to follow its lead. Donald Trump once promised to make Greenland part of the United States. He said it would bring wealth, security, and global power. But while he made headlines, Canada built relationships. While Trump framed Greenland as something to acquire, Greenlanders decided it was time to choose. Today, Greenland is still independent, still autonomous, but it is no longer standing alone. It stands with Europe, with Canada, and most importantly, with a vision for its own future. In the end, Trump didn't lose Greenland because of what he said. He lost it because of how he treated it. And now, in the race for Arctic influence, cooperation, not conquest, may be the path forward. What do you think this means for the future of Arctic geopolitics? Is the US falling behind? Or is a new model of diplomacy emerging? Let us know in the comments, and if you found this story worth sharing, like the video, subscribe, and don't miss what's coming next.